Welcome in as we try to scratch the surface on what's transpired with Operation Epic Fury in the last 48 hours. We're going to take a look at an A-10 gun run video from Iraq. Pretty impressive strafing pass, in my opinion. We have Iranian propaganda. We have battle damage assessment from Prince Sultan Air Base, where our tankers were hit by an Iranian ballistic missile attack. We put that in our newsletter earlier this week. We also have more bombers and now ground troops moving to the region. As negotiations are ongoing and they're progressing, not progressing, it just depends on what minute, what day, and who you're talking to as far as that goes. I think it's just fair to say, and I'm willing to bet, we're not putting a bow on this one and wrapping it up anytime soon. But with that being said, let's first jump into this A-10 gun run in northern Iraq. Now, this is in Mosul from the open source intel page over on X, and claiming it's from the 74th or 75th Fighter Squadron. Those are sister squadrons out of Moody Air Force Base, doing this strafing run against IRGC-backed Shia militia, supposedly the Popular Mobilization Force, the PMF, that is operating inside Iraq. Here's the thing. I don't claim to know all the different factions or even of a fraction of the faction. I think it just paints a clear picture of just what a quagmire this is and how, again, it's just not going to be something easily to put Humpty Dumpty back together again and sing Kumbaya when we go on our merry way. So there's a lot of dynamics here. Again, I'm not claiming that I understand all the dynamics, but here we have A-10s that are doing straight passes inside Iraq. Perspective-wise, I do have a 20 millimeter shell and a 30 millimeter shell. So the 20 millimeter shell here from my F-16 days and this 30 millimeter shell buddy gave me. I mean, like this guy is like, he's shooting forearms. I would imagine most likely this A-10 on this pass is utilizing HEI rounds, high explosive incendiary rounds. So just imagine on the end of this, you have a bullet that has basically a grenade. So whatever this A-10 is pointing at is most likely not here anymore, or just in a matter, it's in a lot of different pieces. Not where we're going to be. So let's take a look at, we'll watch it twice. So watch this one first and then we'll back it up here. Gun on with the smoke. I would love it if one of you can translate what that guy's saying. If I'm seeing A-10s do gun runs in my hometown, I am not standing outside videoing it. I would just say that's a free piece of advice. Take it or leave it. All right, when you see the smoke, that's when the gun turns on. Just a wild pass to see that. So, okay, obviously now we have A-10s operating. General Kane said they'd be operating along the southern Iranian flank. We haven't seen videos of that yet. And these are just people coming outside, videoing and uploading to the internet, which is wild. But General Kane said they'll be operating in that southern flank where air superiority has been established. Now, that can be a fluid thing, which we'll see here in just a minute. But being able to target anything that is threatening the Strait of Hormuz, I think that's where the A-10 is going to really earn its keep when it comes to that. Now, yesterday we did see an F-18 that was supposedly shot at by an Iranian MANPAD. That's a shoulder-fired surface-to-air missile. It appears he was coming off a strafing pass. You hear the gun turn on there, and it just passes just aft, or it has a proximity fuse go off. Another allegation is that this is AI. It looks pretty real. Again, it's tough to tell. Obviously, no confirmation other than that no fighter was shot down by Iranian forces. CENTCOM did say that. But looking at this does look fairly real. We'll look at some propaganda videos so you can compare the two here in a minute. People made some comments like, oh, there'd be no F-18 that would be operating that low inside this threat envelope. And I would disagree with that. I think that changes. I saw that. My last deployment with Operation Inherent Resolve, it was not uncommon to be down low strafing. But then when the threat assessment changed with new intelligence, with ISIS getting a hold of allegedly man-portable surface-to-air missile systems and actually some AAA, some big guns that can shoot at planes, we stopped flying below 10,000 feet for a certain period of time, unless it was just absolutely necessary. So in this case, I don't know what the rules of engagement are. Maybe this F-18 is going down and saving lives, so he is making an exception and willing to buy the risk and bending those rules, if you will. Or it might not be a restriction right now. And maybe today it is a restriction after seeing this, because new intelligence, a new threat has emerged. We said that the air superiority was maintained along that southern flank, but maybe that's not the case. It always can change. And again, I'm going back on my experience. I think the global war on terrorism experience when it comes to being a fighter pilot, We didn't worry about Afghanistan having a surface-to-air missile network in Air Force. We knew it didn't exist. Same with the fight against ISIS in Iraq and Syria. For the most part, there are some exceptions, nuances with that. But every time you check in with a JTAC to get your area brief, that Joint Terminal Attack Controller, the guy on the ground who's embedded with the ground forces, part of your area brief, the threat 99% of the time was small arms and MANPADs. Did you chaff that off and just kind of throw it over your shoulder as it's not really a threat to me today? I venture to say that most of us did that. Clearly, this was not the case yesterday with the F-18. Now, as promised, we have some Iranian propaganda. This is an F-35 fighter jet, or at least they want you to believe that. I'm going to venture and say, no, this is not. It turns out every downed aircraft that's generated by AI somehow comes down like mostly intact. Like, do you remember this one from the Israeli 12-day war? Again, we've talked about this on the podcast before. One, these people are the size of ants. Like this vehicle down here is made for a tiny person. You could fit about 12 of these vehicles in the cockpit here. They do get the canopy bow correct, so I'll give them that. But this thing is gigantic. And so they always come down more or less intact. There's no like fire. The pilot never ejected. So these are always, the canopy is always intact. So I will give them this. They got the canopy bow correct, although the canopy is incorrect. It kind of looks like a Hornet. I'm guessing this is like their version or the AI's version attempt at part of the EOT system, that electrical optical targeting system the F-35 has. None of the angles here make sense. But let's just play the video and see how it goes. Very crunchy feet. And if you're listening to this, we're walking in a desert. And oh, by the way, we have an additional jet that's been shot down that just so happened to land right next to it. It's got fuel tanks. It looks like it has the intake underneath the jet versus side intakes on the other one. We have missiles that are on the ground. Yeah, so like everything is just wrong here. Then we come to some Humvees. So now, if you're used to the military, we've kind of transitioned to the MRAPs or all the different, we've got so many different vehicles now, but the old school like Humvees, this one looks like it's double the height. And then you got a normal size one, and then you have a white one as well. So yeah, so they couldn't quite get the sound right. And they definitely couldn't get the jet right. I didn't mention the first time, right? We have this big American flag painted on the side of the jet, which you'll notice that none of our aircraft have, at least our fighter aircraft, have a big red, white, and blue painted American flag on the side of it. It was a nice try. Now, over to battle damage assessment. Now, this is satellite imagery that appears to show several KC-135s sitting on the ramp remaining at Prince Sultan Air Base. This was hit by a ballistic missile attack and drone attack numerous times. The ramp, if I can freeze frame this here. So I guess we have 3 C-130s. We got 2 right here, 1 back here, and then 12 KC-135s. I'm just looking at the silhouette. It appears, I'm just, again, looking at counting the engines. All these are 4 engines. Remember, the KC-46 is going to be a 2-engine variant. It's a 767 platform. And if we play this forward, we now have 5 aircraft. There is some clouds that are obscuring this. We don't know if anything's sitting behind this cloud, but clearly one tanker is just one big puddle of a mess. Now, I am making an assumption the planes sitting on this ramp most likely aren't flyable. Like there's no reason to leave them sitting here. I am, again, guessing that forces are pulling back. We're not going to leave our tankers inside of vulnerability range like this. They were there to begin with, thought they were safe. Turns out not the case there. Again, that is an assumption. With the exception of the one that is a puddle over here, I'm going to say maybe these other ones could possibly fly, but I'm guessing the reason they're sitting there is they took some kind of damage that was significant enough that we are not able to quickly repair it. So I think the additional threat here is having these things out here. We put a video out of, I think, titled Sitting Ducks, right? Earlier this week, and we talked about it in the newsletter with the basing in the region. And I'm working on a video with drones, right? We've seen the democratization of strategic level weapons. And by that democratization of weapons, in your mom's basement, people can print 3D drones. And that's a little dramatic. But whereas you used to have exquisite weaponry and technology be able to reach out and touch our strategic forces, or we were under an umbrella of defensive capability, at least we thought we would, that nothing could touch us. This is significant. And it's not only a problem overseas, but it's a problem stateside. We saw this last June with Ukraine and Russia. Remember the Russian attack where they put drones inside trucks, drove them deep inside Russia, launched these drones out of the Connex boxes, and hammered many Russian strategic bomber bases, thousands of miles deep inside Russia that were well protected based on depth and distance. Well, again, the democratization of drones and weaponry allows for a strategic capability that it did not exist prior to the last couple of years. And then if we jump to it, we have more B-1s flowing to the region. We have 3 more that showed up in England. And then there have been some pretty impressive pictures of B-52s taking off in the last 24 hours. This was external mounted, what appears to be GBU-31s. These are 2,000-pound JDAMs, Joint Direct Attack Munitions, all of which appear to have nose cones, which is going to allow for penetration into buildings and things like that, preserve the composition of the bomb. You can put different nose cones on it. For instance, if you wanted an airburst capability, you can put a certain nose cone on the front of that, which has a little radar that detects the ground and detonates at a certain distance. But again, this is a pretty impressive loadout when it comes to the B-52. And I know it can carry a lot of bombs, but to see these external mounted 12 2,000-pounders is pretty impressive. A little smoky. And this is from Ryans_photos9 over Instagram. And then as of yesterday, 3 more additional B-1s arriving in England, putting that at a total of 21 bombers. So, and this has just been a massive buildup. There's, again, some speculation that additional F-16 Wild Weasels, 12 additional ones are moving. Again, just a massive surge. We've talked about the Wild Weasels, again, near and dear to my heart. That's a platform that you need to do suppression of enemy air defenses. It's a big team game when it comes to that, but what the F-16 Block 50 and Block 52 does, it allows you to escort bombers, other 4th generation and 5th generation platforms into strike areas to conduct missions. And then if there's any pop-up surface-to-air missile threats, because again, I think that's kind of the threat now, or potential threat, that you have some unknown or some surface-to-air missile system that has been hidden or that it moves. When it turns on, and now it's in a different spot, having more F-16 Wild Weasels allows you a kinetic capability, either with an AGM-88, a high-speed anti-radiation missile, HARM, or dropping a JDAM to destroy it. It, again, just depends on where it is and what's going on, but there's a lot of different ways that it can be taken out. So we do have more forces deploying to the region, including ground forces, which has captured the news cycle as well. However, Secretary of State Mark Rubio today, and this is March 27th, said that he expects the war to end within 2 to 4 weeks. Now, I don't know why that timeline exists. Obviously, he doesn't have to say, but it is a question of, well, what happens, what needs to happen in that 2 to 4 weeks, and why do we think it's going to take that 2 to 4 weeks for it to end? Is it, again, the eradication of certain military or nuclear components that we're still just working at, or we just think they're going to be able to hold out for that much longer? I am a skeptic when it comes to this thing being wrapped up in a neat bow, and I alluded to it with the A-10 strafing video. There's so many dynamics and variables involved in this that Humpty Dumpty has fell off the wall. I don't think you put Humpty Dumpty back together. So militarily, just hammering away at targets. There are differences between military objectives and strategic objectives, and what this outcome is, obviously, who knows? I'd be curious to get your comments down below, what you think about it. And if you enjoy this type content, make sure you check out our free newsletter. Make sure you subscribe, because a lot of you who watch this content, majority are returning viewers who are not subscribed to the channel. So make sure you do that. And I'll see you next time.